active James Joyce because you don't have a sequential
right, and I knew that I wouldn't have time to do it this week, so I did it.
Wait a second, 4:15 today?
That's what we decided. Yes, Alex.
Okay, but I have to leave at 5.
Yeah, I know, we know that.
Okay.
Be exposed to Ulysses. I feel really, really guilty if I don't at least do that. On the other hand, we can't do that if I spread these chapters out further. I'm sorry. 3 on Monday and 4 on Wednesday and 5 on Friday. That would mean no Ulysses. That is on Thursday, I believe.
Question. Was the basic premise of reading this
I
but
mean,
if
my
the stress,
expectations are way up.
sure, but if the stress was basically on getting used to the style, then I think we should just cut it and go to Ulysses. If you wanted to do it that way. And we can read it on our own or something.
Yeah, why don't you give us Ulysses?
Yeah, just give us one of the books and we'll discuss one of the others and we can try and read it on our own.
Well, we can see. I have 4 and 5.
I have chapter 2 left and then 3, 4, and 5.
I'm somewhere in chapter 2.
Every chapter 2 too.
I've read.
Well, actually, if you were done by Wednesday, that would be fine. And then that would give me at least Friday, to give you. What I want to do is run off about 5 pages from chapter 1 of Ulysses, 5 from the siren section, and 5 from the end, so that you can see the progression of style and what happens there. Just so that to study to make your life easier.
Put them all on the same night.
In terms of the salon project.
Listen.
Shani, how are you doing with Isadora Duncan?
Oh, besides that, every book in the back and checked out about her, and I only found one book that's not even about her. So
Did you check into the movies?
No, I'll do that this weekend. Tasha was
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got that. I'm gonna look at this weekend. I have a question for you. I don't have a satellite calendar yet. That was my last day.
I'm sorry.
I don't have a list here, but I will.
I'll
you
come
can
in and see you. What time are you gonna be there? Will you be there between
I'll be there
2
at
and
3 o'clock today.
3 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I'll stop inside the restaurant. I have a question too. On these pictures that we're getting, because we've gotten some Picassos and everything, we got them from the library. Where are we gonna put them necessarily?
How are we gonna tack them up?
And
You
how
can't
are we
put
gonna
tacks
tack them
through
up on the wall?
No, you can't put tags in them. I think there's a little gummy type of substance that you can get from the bookstore. Yeah, you just put it on the back and it just sort of sticks like clay.
And seeing that the room that the salon that Gertrude actually uses is so much smaller, are we supposed to enclose? We're only supposed to take a part of the music room, or are we supposed to use all of it still?
Well, would you rather do it right here, in this room?
I think our group, generally, we like the music room, but we were going to set it up so we only use this section. We're going to cut off half of it.
So I invite them up there. We can talk about it this weekend.
Okay. Michelle? Any problems?
Oh wait, I have another question. Would you count off if I just focus on my poetry at the Cummings, or would you really let me talk about it?
I'd like you to talk about the enormous.
I didn't really even start.
Do it, Ezra.
Alex?
Okay, that's all about. Class to be quiet for us.
I'm doing
Oh, no.
I'm doing fairly well. I haven't gone into Picasso as yet. However,
I haven't done this one.
Lori and I
We got a
So,
lot of quotes.
it's going along well. We wrote, I would think, maybe 2 minutes. No, maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
And do we seriously have to take up a whole hour?
See, that's
a
and how
lot
are
of
we
time.
How are we gonna know
No,
if we're taking
really,
up a
you
whole
will
hour?
find that your hour is going to be short by the time you end up doing all this and having your entertainment besides. Because you have all those satellite people. You're going to have dancing. Russell will be showing his art. You might have a poetry reading with E.E. Cummings. You are all artists at this party. So, just entertainment-wise alone, it could take up a lot of time. But I don't want you to concentrate so much on entertainment that you aren't doing.
Okay, I'm just worried that how are we gonna know when we've done an hour's work? That's my biggest worry. Or we go an hour before.
Overplan.
What?
Overplan.
Right, you go extempore.
That's
if
what
you're
teachers do all the
that
time.
low.
you know, in a situation, you pack all kinds of things in, and then it's, usually a first year teacher will do that. You'll find that, you know, lesson plan will go on forever and ever and ever, and they'll say, well, I thought this would only take an hour, but really it takes a whole week. So more than likely you will have, you know, twice as much material as you need.
And end up not getting to it all.
And the part that you shouldn't get to would be the entertainment part, because you can still shoot. And we want Isadora with all her scarves, and Coco Chanel with the fashion. You know, I mean, this could be very, very showing. And then she would say, well, you know,
This is the type of outfit that I wore, and she'd get up and maybe show.
oh yes, these were flamboyant people. You know, they had tremendous egos, and they wanted to show off.
Well, I think that kind of with our whole group, everybody's working on it, but we haven't kind of changed it to get together and write dialogues. So, I mean, I've gotten a lot of information, but I don't have it like coordinated with everyone else.
I'm worried about pulling all that together too. But the dialogue doesn't scare me as much because, like Alex said, we sat down and worked out
Within
what
an
we
hour,
wrote
we
in
had
no
a
time.
couple of pages.
My
Yeah.
dialogue scares me
And it wouldn't
because I don't know
roll
who
out.
I'm. Because I don't think what I found is I don't talk to these people. I only talk to like Dustin Passos and Ezra Pound, and Ezra Pound's not even going to be there.
What are you doing?
Ezra, I mean, he coming.
And Dos Passos doesn't know what's going on, so.
I'm really scared.
Those kinds of-
I mean,
I'm getting
can I focus on the?
I want that.
I want that.
No, I want that.
I want it.
I reject it.
I haven't given it.
Put your squad one.
I want it.
You can take it and share it.
Sorry.
This is the book I was telling you about in relation to Virginia Woolf.
I'm her.
Would you like to take that?
They don't have it at the library.
This probably would not really be a part of what you would talk about in the 20s, but it's such a significant work, and it really has effect. She really was, or had a tremendous influence on feminism, and just about all the feminists allude to this book, and maybe you could work it into your.
Well, that's already gonna be a real strong thing because
Good.
it seems to be most of her.
Good.
Is
Jody, how are you doing?
I'm really confused because,
His relationship with some of the others.
and then my satellite character, she's just out of control. She's gonna be fun. Nancy.
Yes. You'll have a lot of fun with her.
She's interesting.
Tasha, you've been ill. How are you?
I'm gonna spend some time working on that this weekend.
Okay.
My biggest concern is like Lori's with the clothes and the food, but maybe this will help.
Okay.
I think with Gertrude's time, you could just put on like something real.
Peasant type clothes.
Yeah, real.
Mhm.
And you have to stuff it.
You are, yeah, you are going to have to pad yourself.
Like big pillows. Big pillows.
Make yourself really ugly.
Great.
get really ugly like me.
Robbie, how are you?
A book that I supposedly said, which I don't know yet, so I'll have to get with them.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was, but we put it in there.
Hopefully something.
Ezra?
So far, everything I've seen, as far as appearance, I've seen photos, but they all just look pretty conventional. I mean, shirt, tie, pants, coat, jacket.
You've come across the conventional ones?
Yeah, I mean, in all the books, that seems to be the pictures I've found. But then in reading,
Because he
it talks
isn't
about him
real
being
conventional.
it talks about him being dressed very mismatched and him being in trouble at Wabash College for that,
Yeah.
for dressing like
In
the
his
big
youth,
hat and
probably.
the shirt that doesn't match his pants and the funny tie. And
You probably will have to get some. Because he had that real thick hair that was, you know, all the pictures show.
yeah, I know. I also have this great picture of him. These great pictures of him during the 40s. They're just.
I have a book at home that is Ezra Pound, a pictorial Ezra Pound, and it's all pictures.
But in all my reading, so far it talks about his appearance for about a few pages. It talks about
Solving that one too. How are you doing?
Okay, I think. I don't know. I decided not to worry so much because I can do it. I want to be really realistic, and I don't have all the stuff, and my parents keep making me go home, and so I can't use the library.
Your parents keep making you go home?
I have to go home. I've kept having to go home. That's against.
Who's your main character again?
Virginia.
Maybe I can see if I can get you something. they had a pictorial one on her too. But my books are, half of them are in boxes and half of them are on the shelves, so I don't know. Some of my real important ones are still packed away.
I'm having trouble finding stuff about what she would be like at the parties. I found like conversations with her and other people in letters, lots of letters. But
Probably
just how
she
she'd
wouldn't
act
go
like-
to the parties.
that's what I was thinking. 'Cause
She really would.
3 things that he said, because he only spent 2 years in Paris, and then he left and just went other places for a long time. So he wasn't there very long and didn't have a chance to say very much because he didn't know very many people. So the only people I talked to were like Joyce, and I talked to Sylvia Beach about mountain climbing. It's just that
You
they
talked
talked
to Joyce about his daughter.
Well, yeah. I talked to Joyce about everything.
That's true.
Turnips.
Joyce is going to be very busy at this party. Is it stressing you out to the point where you want a different person?
Oh, I think it's kind of too late for that. Because I wouldn't have time to research it. But I think I can find more stuff. I really do. A lot.
Laura, what's going on with McCalman? Have you done anything?
Yeah, I started reading about him. He did have something to say about everyone.
Yeah, he really is one of those people where the material is right there.
Yeah. See, I found a book that he wrote a book about him being in Paris, so it's got his opinion. It's just like his autobiography, his opinion about everyone. I've heard his already in reading about one chapter. You know, I've read his opinion on Joyce, Eliot, Pound, and everyone. So that shouldn't be a problem. I should be able to say a lot.
Okay. Holly, come in and see me. And I'll see if I can make your life a little easier. Come in at 3 to 6.
So if the main characters run out of script, then is that when the satellites start talking and everything? Or the satellites?
Is focus on the satellites in between as transitions too. You know, if you want to do that, because the satellites are fun people. And they not only will be able to entertain it, but if you have catchy conversations that you want to incorporate, you know, it's up to you. You know, if you have enough time, if you feel that you are short of, or are, you know, you have this big long gap, put the satellite people in there and let them talk, let them do some of their things, because, you know, that's part of the assignment.
I was confused about the format for the satellite person page too. I mean, how do you want that done? And do we have to meet with the other group?
No, not at all. Just find out what your satellite person said to different people, and then just give me, it's like a one-sided conversation. Monologue. But then if you want to actually say those things to the people at the party, you know, let your directors know. You are a director, by the way, and so are you, Tosh. And when you're putting your scripts together, you know, make sure you know who wants to say what.
So are the satellite people at the entertainment?
Yes, and they can be a part of the dialogue.
Right, so they're more entertainment than the main characters.
It all depends on what you need.
What type of person?
Let's get into chapter 2.
I just finished reading this, so I just wanted to throw this out. I cannot believe how passive he is in the beginning of this story.
In chapter 1?
In chapter 2, at the beginning of chapter. I mean, it seems to me that he's pretty passive because he's. It talks about how he's speaking to these his compatriots, like Heron, and this is before he goes on for his part in the play, and it talks about how before he had been made to admit, and that now when he thinks back on it, it's like he has no emotion, that it didn't really even touch him, and it's almost as though he goes from being very emotional to a complete indifference to very emotional. And this seems to be running throughout the whole story as this seesaw of, you know, passive, active, because he was actively mad.
And I think it was, like Alex said, they were more passionate about their anger or something. I just always kind of got that feeling, so they would be more open about it.
Robin?
I agree with Ezra. I mean, they are very open in some emotions, but for the most part, they're very close-mouthed, very tight-knit. I mean, group. I have lots of Irish relatives. I know this for a fact. I mean, it's just, they'll be friendly and stuff, but they're very closed about what they actually feel, unless they're upset. Then they seem to fly off the handle. But that doesn't count. It's just, I mean, for the most part, they are very, very close-mouthed and very close, and they don't really normally let their emotions get away with them.
But
It's my family.
But think about back to the beginning of this when they got in that big argument over that.
Tempers, maybe? Is a temper a part of Holly?
Well, as far as that goes, I have a very Irish family too, and my family's very vocal within the family and within a close circle of people they trust. But if you're not within that circle, I mean, they're not going to expose themselves to the world in the way that you guys seem to want. It's just not going to happen.
The original, the way that I had always characterized them, because of the way that they're characterized often in popular, like in contemporary movies, things along those lines, is you have like the Irish tough who kind of rules the neighborhood and, you know, is sort of the leader. And to me, that seems that they possess a lot, that they would project a lot of. Is it more that they hold in on their emotions but project leanings toward one thing or another to influence other people? Is that more?
I think maybe intent.
So usually characterized as being fighters.
Right, that's what I was saying, and that's another reason why Daedalus intrigues me, I suppose, is a
Stephen?
good word as any.
Or
But he's obviously very much a fighter, whereas his son seems to be much more passive, more like his mother, in fact, who seems to be more of the mediator of these disputes. And
that's real interesting, Alex. What do you think about the woman who's just citing her? The passive woman is the Irish woman like Stephen Douglas's mother.
But then again, look at Dante. I mean, because wasn't she fighting?
Dante Reardon, That's true. It's a good point.
She was definitely a fighter.
Yeah.
She had that temper.
Yeah, she did.
Big temper.
Okay, sorry, Ezra.
It seems funny. I realize from purpose. I don't know.
you're taking away the individuality of it.
Right. I mean, but then maybe that's true. Maybe it depends on from author to author, I guess.
Well, in other senses, but in this sense, it is something that we need to focus on. Robbie?
I was just gonna make a comment about like the Irish women. They're just like normal people, basically. I mean, some of them are very submissive and very pacifist, just like in other cultures, and some of them do have the tempers. By like summing up the entire culture or the entire Irish woman with Stephen's mom, and that's like saying all women in England are frigid and all Japanese women are meek and mild and obedient. That's not true. I mean, Ezra was right. You just can't stereotype it. It just doesn't work.
Well, I don't know. I guess for the purposes of what we're doing, Joyce is treating a stereotype.
I just happen to think, Robbie, of a situation. You know, my stepmother is Irish, and we went to a gathering in Chicago of all, you know, the Irish relatives, and
we can know is by a couple of definitions. First of all, we have inelastic collisions. Perfectly inelastic collisions are collisions when what happens? They stick together. So we have inelastic collisions. So you have a lot of tools that you can use. You can use what you know about force. You can use, you can actually use COM, which does not mean that it's communistic, but conservation of momentum and conservation of energy. Without knowing more information about this particular collision with a rubber band, we have a hard time finding even the maximum force, unless you would know a characteristic of your collision, a characteristic of the rubber band. If you know that this curve is a parabola, for example, then you can find, you know, the values of the two endpoints, you know what the area has to be, then essentially you can determine what this curve is.
Like what characteristics?
Well, like no.
Do you mean the maximum force?
Okay, for example, with a spring,
You can find the equation for the whole, for a force at any point if you know that, say, the equation's a parabola.
for example, with a spring, you have, for example, if you assume that the stretch in the rubber band, you know, you hook a rubber band up like this, if you assume you have kind of hooks law in that direction and that direction, what does that mean about the force as a function of stretch in this direction? See what I'm saying? If the force as a, if the stretch
Especially if you're tossing